Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Welcome everybody to this evening's Q&A at the Rishikesh Kirtan Fest. How many of you have been here for Q&A before? Raise your hand. So we have some new faces here too. Welcome back if you've been here before. Welcome for the first time if this is your first time coming. It's pretty simple. Just questions and answers. But you know, questions and answers, it's like a whole tradition is built on this, you know? What is Bhagavad Gita? Questions and answers. What are the Upanishads? Questions and answers. Right? All the Puranas, lots of questions and answers. Pretty much this whole world is just lots of questions and answers going on. But here we try to elevate the questions and elevate the answers. You know, it's the better that the question is, the more potential there is for growth through the answer. True? But I don't say that to put pressure on. I take all kinds of questions here. don't think I have to have the best question. Really, we're happy to take whatever questions you have. So, would anyone like to get it started? And yes, sir.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I want to ask, like we do chanting Harinam, like 16 rounds or more. So is it necessary, like one person is doing 64 rounds? So is it necessary to read books also, like Bhagavatam? Once he has already read all these books, like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So if he is regularly doing chanting, so is it necessary to read books also?
Well, if we go to the text, the Srimad Bhagavatam, there we hear the story. One of the most important narrations in all of the thousands and thousands of Vedic verses. There's if you add up the Vedas, including the Upanishads, and you add to that the Vedanta Sutra, and you add to that the Mahabharata, which is 100,000 verses, and then you add to that the 18 Puranas. Some of them are like 10,000 verses, some of them are like 70 or 80,000 verses. So it all starts to add up, and altogether that'll make well over something like 520,000 verses. So it's a lot. It's a lot there to read. And in all of that, one of the most important passages, one of the passages that has been most commented on and people go back to for essential teachings, is the teachings of Prahlad. Now, raise your hand if you do not know who Prahlad is. It's okay, nothing to be ashamed of. We all have our first time, right? Raise your hand if you are not familiar with the avatar, the man-lion avatar, Narasimhadev. Everybody, more people are familiar with him. But one avatar, Narasimha, right? Lord Vishnu appears as a half a man and a half a lion. This is called the Leela avatar. Leela avatar, meaning Krishna sometimes appears in different forms as part of his play, as part of his adventure. And Krishna's adventures are always loving adventures. There's always love in it. But if you see him take this lion form, he is ferocious. But sometimes out of love, we come ferocious. Yes? Anyone ever have to protect a loved one? Oh, welcome. Good to see you. Anyone ever protect a loved one and become a bit ferocious? You see? Mothers out here, right? Someone messes with their kid, they get serious. And that's how this form of the most, when any parent may become ferocious to protect their child, but when God becomes ferocious, he becomes the most ferocious. And that was this form of Narasimhadev, this man-lion form. But he was protecting a boy, and the boy's name was Prahlad. And Prahlad was born in the dynasty of the Asuras, of the demoniac lineage, but he was an absolutely pure-hearted bhakti yogi. And what happens is a series of he's sent off to boarding school, and every now and then he comes back to his father, who's like the head of the Asuras, really just the kind of like the leaders that we have nowadays, but even more full on powerful. And he would always say to his son, he wanted his son to be trained in politics, be trained to really fight what he saw as his enemy. But the boy couldn't see that way because he was a bhakti yogi. He could only see the soul within everybody, the pure soul within everybody. He would say, I can't understand this mentality. I've heard about this friends and enemy kind of thing, but I don't relate to this at all. And so he would come back from school, and his father would sometimes ask him, what did you learn in school? He kept giving the wrong answers, not the answers that he wanted to hear. So one time he said, what did you learn in school? What was your favorite thing that you learned? And he said, and this gets to your question now. He said, oh, why can't I remember it now? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam Atmanavedanam. So it's a list of 9 things. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanavedanam. 9 different types of practices of bhakti. And each one of these different practices, there's an exemplar of it. There's someone in these sacred texts that really shows how to do it right? Actually, this little boy, Prahlad, is one of them. He's for Vandanam, I believe, for offering prayers, because he offers such beautiful prayers. But the first one mentioned is Shravanam, hearing. So when you say reading these books, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, that is called Shravanam, hearing. Okay? The next one is Kirtanam. That means the chanting, right? So each of the 9 are listed, and each one has its exemplar. And it's said that one can achieve the perfection of Bhakti Yoga through any one of the 9, right? You can practice them all. You can practice several of them. Even if you perfect one of them, that's all one needs. And it's also said that in this day and age, the most powerful deliverer is the chanting of the names of God. So very accessible, very potent. But that being said, commonly, these 2 paths, Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, they go together, almost like a railroad track. If you have 2 tracks, these 2 are very potent together. Because when you chant, it can be either full of love, full of beauty, full of life, or it can be empty. It can just be syllables without any rasa in it, without any real taste, without any bhava in it, without any real mood of devotion. So by reading these texts and hearing about Krishna's Leela, then that feeling can come in the heart from that, and it can nourish your chanting. So the 2 work very well hand in hand. So granted, one could just focus on one, and that can be enough. But in general, the serious bhakti yogis are going to practice more than one, and especially these 2. So just like, raise your hand if you practice asana, yoga asana. Okay, so most people here practice. Now, if you practice asana and you practice it for a little while, there's certain things that you know that maybe people that don't practice asana don't know. For instance, you know that if, say, I practice 1 hour today, asana, and 1 hour tomorrow, and then I go 3 days without practicing, and then I practice for 8 hours the next day, and then I skip another day, then I practice an hour, then I go 2 more days without practicing, then I go on another little marathon, 108 sun salutations the next day, then that kind of I think we all know that kind of practice, you won't have a nice growth pattern in the depth of your asana practice like that. Better if you just did it even a half hour every day steadily. True? Yes? If you raise your hand if you agree. Okay. I'm not just on my own saying that, right? So Patanjali, the great sage Patanjali, in his Yoga Sutras, he describes what this abhyasa is, what practice is. And he says that when something is done with the right devotion, the right dedication, he lists three things. This is the first one. Right? When something's done with the right devotion, the right dedication, when it's done without interruption, in other words, daily, you're doing it regularly, you keep coming back steady. It's not like keeps getting broken up, but you keep it going steady. And when it's done over the course of a long time like this, he says, then the practice becomes firmly rooted. Right? And so serious bhakti yogis, they hear Shravanam. They hear Shravana means reading Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita. It also means hearing it from people that have deep realizations about it too. That's important. So they'll practice, serious bhakti yogis will practice Shravanam, this hearing, and they'll practice chanting. And they'll do it, japa, and they'll do it daily. It'll be their serious, steady practice. It's not like they do it sometimes, they do it once a week. No, that's what they do. That's their regulation. That's their sadhana. Sadhana, right? A daily, regular practice. And the sadhana is focused on the sadhya, the goal, right? The goal is the full awakening of prema, the full awakening of divine love within the heart. And the steady sadhana is the path to achieving that goal. So chanting is wonderful, but I would highly recommend that you nourish that chanting through hearing as well.
Like if I do chanting, I'm doing chanting, and on the other hand, I'm driving my car and listening chanting like Kirtan on my car stereo. So what is the difference between both?
The sound itself has the potency to go into the ear and reach the heart and transform the heart. Now, there's so many variables, and the real variable is it chanted with love, right? There is one great saint, such an impressive person. He was most brilliant scholar, most brilliant speaker, most brilliant writer, powerful, influential person. But also he had this, his name was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He lived a century and a half ago. And he also had the kind of that ability to sit and chant and do nothing. For one time, he took a vow to chant the name of Krishna, I believe it was 1 billion times. It took him 9 years. He just sat in a hut for 9 years and just chanted nonstop, right? You have to have a taste for that, And he shared this, and this will speak towards what you're asking. He said that the chanting of the mantra, the terms he uses, it can be lip deep or it could be heart deep. Okay? He said that this mantra is not ordinary sound. Sound is moving everything. Everything is moving. There's nothing in this universe that's not vibrating. So in other words, everything is sound. But there's sound of the material realm, and then there's sound of the spiritual realm. And this particular mantra this Maha mantra is the sound of the spiritual world. It's a sound in the name of the Supreme, and it's also the name of the Supreme's feminine energy. So it has both the female energy and the male energy of the divine, and the love that they share, all contained in the mantra. Okay, it's very powerful. And at the same time, it's kind of like designed to go out into the world and transform. And so that particular mantra, they've gone back into the Upanishads and found this very special, powerful pill, in a sense you could say, right? And it's prescribed for this age. Now, he said that sound of that mantra descends from the spiritual world, and it enters into the ear, and it goes to the heart. If we take it in, it'll go to the heart. And if it goes to the heart and the heart is soft, it melts that heart and you feel special feelings. And then when you chant that name and you chant it from the heart, then your feelings are going with it. There's love invested in the mantra. That comes up and it goes through your mouth and then it vibrates out into the world. So he said that the chanting has to be heart deep, not just lip deep. And to explain this still more, what he said was that he used an analogy of a capsule like that you might buy at a pharmacy. You know, they have a lot of these gel capsules or whatever, and the pharmacist will fill them with a particular medicine and then put them in a particular bottle and prescribe them. They'll be prescribed. So he said the capsule itself, it may have medicine in it, it may have nothing in it, it may have poison in it. The capsule looks the same. And he said the syllables of the mantra are like the capsule. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. If it's not chanted with love, it can be an empty capsule. It's the love that one feels. So you're asking a question. If I'm hearing someone else chanting, how is that different from if I'm chanting myself? One thing is when you chant yourself, it's you speaking to God. It's you connecting with God personally, right? So that's one important feature, and it's something that a bhakti yogi wants to do. Then the second thing was, what if I'm hearing someone else chanting? Well, if they're chanting and if it's come in from the spiritual realm and into their ear and then into their heart, and they felt some special feelings of love in their own heart, and then that feeling is inside the capsule that they chant out, then that's a very potent form of medicine. So in one sense, it depends who's chanting you're hearing. Now there's a saying that this is a little heavy, but there's a saying in India. In India, people know things about snakes that people in the Western world don't know. But they say that if milk gets touched by the lips of the snake, then the milk becomes poisonous. Sometimes a snake will dip into the milk. And so therefore something that is nourishing gets turned into something that's toxic. So it's said that even this name, this mantra, if it's chanted by someone that's toxic within, then it could be toxic coming out. And hearing them chant really does no good for one. Yeah. Interesting, yes? So therefore, the devotees, they discriminate, they discern. And especially they want to hear the chanting of very elevated souls. Here, there's a combination. It's a combination of really talented musicians, but people who are very devoted. Now, what's more important? The devotion, right? It's wonderful if that devotion is combined with artistry, right? Then beautiful. And take your skills, your artistry, and make that an offering along with the name. Lovely. But really what's most important is the feelings within the heart of the person chanting. And we were talking about this the other night. Really the goal of the person leading the kirtan is not so much to entertain, but it's to get everybody chanting together. We talked about this a lot last night, chanting together. It's if we can all with one heart and with one voice vibrate this sound together, then wonderful things can happen. It's a wonderful way to together express ourselves to God. It's kind of like the parents, they really want to see the children get along, isn't it true? The parents can't be happy, even if the kids are doing wonderful things, but if they're not getting along, then the parent is maybe disappointed, or the happiness, they're concerned. Let's put it that way. They're concerned. Similarly, if we can all get together, if we can all set aside our selfishness, leave it behind. When we go in here, let's say to chant, leave all that outside the door. Leave outside all our false ego. And all get on the same page and say, let's just do this together. Let's all vibrate this name. Let's do it from the heart. Whatever gratitude we have, whatever affection, whatever love we have for God and for every living being that's connected to God, let's go right down there into the heart, pull it out and chant this name with those feelings and sing and dance and chant together. We're not going to let little petty things upset us like we normally do in life. Someone bumps into us, we get all upset. We don't like the way someone's dressed. We think something bad about them. That stuff's not important to us. We're going to come together. We're going to vibrate this name. Then beautiful, wonderful things happen. That's what's so wonderful about this festival, because it's happening every night right over here. So it is different because one is your own personal expression to God. And as far as hearing it, hearing Kirtan is wonderful. You've turned it to the right channel. You've turned in your awareness to a good channel. But how potent that channel is dependent on the quality of the chanting, the affection, the love within the heart of that particular devotee. Okay, thank you very much. That's a great question. Kat, welcome to Rishikesh.
Thank you. I'm curious to understand how the Bhakti tradition is different from other forms of Hinduism that view Vishnu as like the main god. I'm butchering this because I don't know anything, and Krishna as his 8th avatar, and then Bhakti as believing that Krishna is the all supreme power, and how we have come to believe that, and how that just difference a little bit more.
I wish I had a chalkboard with me. Make this easier to answer, but I'm going to go a little wider because both those that accept that Vishnu is the source of Krishna and those that accept that Krishna is the source of Vishnu, they're both schools are bhakti yogis, and both schools share so much, and both schools really respect one another. There are 4 bhakti lineages that come down over the centuries, Bhakti Vedanta. Then beyond that, there's other approaches. So I think to really fully answer your question, I got to zoom out in a little bit more broad. Are you ready to do that? This could take a while. I'm going to need attention. You're all ready for this? Okay. So there's a vast body of books. I was speaking about it earlier. Essentially, it's the 4 Vedas, which are thousands and thousands and thousands of verses. There's the Upanishads, which are part of those Vedas, but they have a different tone. There's 108 of those books called the Upanishads. Then there's a summary of them in a form called the Vedanta Sutra, the summary of the Upanishads. And then there's the Mahabharata, which is 10,000 verses, which is an epic. It's a story. But it also has the philosophy of the Upanishads in it in the form of the Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses, part of the Mahabharata. And then there's 18 Puranas, which are collections of lots of stories about the gods and the goddesses. I'm going to try to put this in a nutshell. But essentially, there are 3 approaches that people, whether they're in this tradition or any tradition, they kind of generally will fall into one of these 3 when they're approaching the divine. But in this tradition, this Vedic tradition, this tradition that grows out of this body of literature, it really articulates very well these 3 different stages. Okay, so you get, once you know them, you can see them everywhere. And that's the 3 stages are called karma, jnana, bhakti. Okay, so there's a karma kanda. That means the karma section of these literatures. There's the jnana kanda, the jnana section of these literatures. And then there's the bhakti kanda, the bhakti section of these literatures. They're speaking on 3 different levels. So I'm going to try to sum them up as concise as I can. The first one, karma. The idea here is that the Vedic texts are saying that everything that we receive in this world, you're receiving from a higher power. There's a god or a goddess that's providing the sun, the rain, the moon, the river, the mountain, everything. You're receiving so much, you should show some gratitude. That's what a civilized, decent person does. And not only that, but when you show your gratitude and you try to live in harmony with the dharma that these gods and goddesses follow themselves, then you'll cultivate good karma. They will provide more for you. They'll keep giving you more, and you can live a very prosperous and comfortable life in this world. Even you can do, if you really do this well, you can ascend to higher planets. You can be born with a beautiful body. You can be born wealthy. You can, so many lovely material things you can gain. So the Vedas speak about that. That's called karma. I see that the world, when I look at the world, I think this is for me to enjoy. And the best way to enjoy it is by being a good civilized person, making offerings to the gods and the goddesses, expressing gratitude, being a good person, cultivating good karma. That's my approach. Okay? So it's an approach for the things of this world, external things, material things, but in a very civilized way. And by making it civilized, one takes a step up in their spiritual evolution. Right? If everybody lived like this, even though it's materialistic, we'd really have a much more beautiful and harmonious world. Now, someone may live that life, become prosperous, enjoy the things of this world, and find that this material prosperity, material gain, ultimately is empty. Ultimately, it's shallow. Ultimately, it doesn't satisfy one within. Have any of you ever felt that before? You know, I got what I want, but it didn't satisfy me. Sometimes the people, just the other day was George Harrison's birthday, and George Harrison was a Bhakti yogi. And he kind of reached like the ultimate earthly kind of level of material influence, you know, whatever he wanted. He had wealth, he had fame, beautiful women, influence. In one sense, he got it all. But he said, I felt like I climbed up the ladder and I got there's nothing there. And I was looking over on the other side. There's so much more on the spiritual side. And so sometimes people prosper, but then they recognize they feel an emptiness. They want something more. They realize that the external things do not satisfy. They want to find inner peace and inner bliss. Now they're moving into the realm of jnana, in the realm of the books called the Upanishads. Okay? So those books teach almost the opposite. Because if you're going to come to the next level, you have to deny the previous level. So they're saying trying to achieve the things of this world is not the wisest way to go about life. Even if you're doing it as the Vedic literatures teach. Don't you realize that any of the boons, any of the rewards that you get for living that way, you can enjoy them for some time and then you lose them and you feel pain. It's all time bound. But you are eternal. You're not your body. You're not your mind. You have an inner nature that's eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Find that nature, experience that. And the way that you do it is by turning away from the material things in life, controlling your senses, analyzing your desires, seeing how they're empty, letting go of them, turning within and feeling what's within. So in a nutshell, that's what Jnana Yoga is about. And the goal in the karma approach was bhoga. It was material enjoyment. The goal for the Jnanis, could anyone say? Sanskrit word? Moksha, right? Or mukti. They want to transcend this world. They want freedom, right? Peace, freedom. Freedom from the entanglements of this world. Now, there's a third level of literature that comes along now. It becomes more clear in the Bhagavad Gita. And in some of the Puranas, it really starts to come out, and it really culminates in the text, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the ultimate work of the great sage Vyasadeva. Now that it teaches bhakti, that the goal of life is not to enjoy the things of this world, and it's also not just to escape the pain of this world like the Jnana Yogi is doing, but there's something more still. Ultimately, there's love. That love is the highest principle. That all of this yoga, all of this knowledge, all of it ultimately leads and culminates in divine love, prema. And then it begins to discuss who that love is directed to, who's the root of all existence that serves as the perfect object of love. The perfect object that can entirely reciprocate with your love. And that through loving, your love connects with every living being. And there's only one person that can be said, and that's God. Okay? So this is bhakti now. Now it's not like I'm here, I'm trying to enjoy the world or I'm trying to escape the world. But it's that I see the world as all God's energy. And my focus is on awakening that love I have within me. Okay? All right, now let's bring it to the questions of who's worshiping who and how that's going on, right? Now, if you go, everybody with me so far? Okay, that was a lot there. We threw out a lot. That was the foundation. Now we take it to the next step. If your interest is in the Karma Kanda, if your interest is in the books that teach about how to enjoy this world by doing nice rituals and making nice sacrifices, and then it's going to say that if you worship this god, you get something. If you worship that goddess, you get something else. Sometimes it'll be like, well, on Monday you should worship this one, and on Tuesday you should worship that one. And you'll go to different temples and you'll worship different gods and goddesses. You'll do rituals that look just like bhakti. Offering a flower, offering a lamp, saying a prayer. But your motive is not the same as the bhakti yogi. What was the motive of the bhakti yogi? What was their goal? I can't hear anyone. So yeah, okay. Prema, love, divine love, devotion, love. The motive of the karmi, the person that's practicing karma, when they're offering that flower, what is their motive? Something of this world. They're praying to God and offering because they want, please give me rain for my crops. I'm sorry? I'm saying they're worshiping with a motive. Yeah, they're worshiping with a motive. You can, if you go and look at all these shops out here, sometimes you can see in the morning when they're opening up the shop, they're doing a little puja, maybe to Ganesha, maybe to Lakshmi Devi. What is their desire that they're bringing to this god or goddess? Good. I want good business today. You know, please bless my endeavors to have good business today. Okay, so it looks like bhakti, but the bhakti yogis say no. Just like we're talking about the chanting, that's like an empty capsule. There's the external form is there of love, but there's no real feelings of love there. Okay. Now, so if that's my goal, I might worship many different gods and goddesses. I might see them all equally. They all have their different power and they all offer their different thing. And those books will encourage me to do it. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says something very interesting. He says, people that want the things of this world, they worship the devas, these gods and goddesses. They do it to receive the rewards of this world. And he says that, and those gods will very quickly give them those things. It's considered not that precious. Wealth, sure. Fame, no problem. Right? Love is a different thing. Love has the power to control God. It's not given so easily like that. But Krishna says, if they'll worship the gods and goddesses for the things of this world, and quickly they give those things. But he says, but this worship that they're doing of all the different gods and goddesses, he says it's avidi purvakam. It's done without really knowing what's going on. So Krishna says, because ultimately, whatever those gods and goddesses gives, it comes from me. So they could come directly to me, right? But their thinking is coming from this god or goddess. And he says, but that's okay. And then he says this. He says, if this is the way they're approaching, then I'm in the heart of every living being. And from within, I'll make their faith strong in that god or goddess. Now, so he's saying, I'm not a jealous God. As a matter of fact, I see they're taking a step up. And if they're taking a step up, I'll encourage it like that. And so this person, it's likely that they see, this is the real understanding of the divine from a strictly karmic perspective. They think that there's all these different gods and goddesses. They have different powers. And the gods and goddesses aren't like the ultimate supreme. There's the law of karma, which is supreme. And all the gods and goddesses have to work according to that law. So, in other words, if you do the ritual and you do it correctly, that they are obliged to provide for you the result of that ritual. right? That's their conception of the divine. That's how they see the world. Does that make sense? And so they're worshiping gods and they're worshiping goddesses, and you'll see that all over. Okay. Everybody with me right now? We covered one of them. Maybe it answers some questions of things that you've seen. And okay. Now, the next step up to jnana, commonly the way that it's understood is they say, why should I worship these gods and goddesses to get the things of this world? The things of this world are ultimately empty. I don't want the things of this world. I want freedom from this world. I want moksha, right? And they'll say the rewards of these gods and goddesses, they're temporary. Ultimately, they bring pain. But they also believe that there are certain forms that if one meditates on, that it can help elevate their awareness. And it can take them higher, and then eventually they let go of that too. It becomes a very subtle argument about whether this God is real or not. They call it a difference between Nirguna Brahman, which they say is the ultimate. It means God with no features, God with no face, God with no form, just pure Brahman, pure spiritual energy. Then they say that energy manifests sometimes in a form of this world. And that's called Saguna Brahman, God now with qualities, with features. And they say if you meditate on that form, you can elevate your consciousness, and then you begin to see that even that form is ultimately, in a sense, unreal. And you realize, who is God? I am God. That there's only oneness. That the very conception that you and I are separate will become disintegrated through jnana, through knowledge. And then one realizes, I am that ultimate oneness. I am that God. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I'm the Supreme. So that's another idea. Those people, sometimes they worship 5 gods and goddesses, or maybe their family is particularly inclined towards one. They call that their Ishta Devataha. Again, they're worshiping one particular god or goddess, but with the idea that in the end, this form that I'm worshiping, I let go of this too. All right? So it's a whole nother motive. Again, the first motive was I want the things of this world. This motive is I want freedom from this world. And when I'm there, I have freedom even from you, right? I see that ultimately you were me, or this form that you are is poof. It's gone. There's only the one. Okay. Then there's Bhakti Yoga. Now the Bhakti Yoga, the Bhakti Yogis, you're always going to find exceptions. But if we're going to speak in generalities, Bhakti Yoga means that the worship that I do, the seva that I do, the sadhana that I do, what's my motive? Love. That's the only motive. I don't want the things of this world. I don't even want freedom from the pain of this world or escape from this world. My only motive, my only motive is love. This is expressed in a very important verse by the great Saint Rupa Goswami. Anyabhilashitas shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyena Krishna anushilanam bhakti uttama. He describes what is uttama bhakti, the real bhakti, the pure bhakti. He says that there's no desire, there's no influence of jnana karmadyanavritam, the goal in jnana of moksha, or the goal in karma of the things of this world. The only goal is to connect to Krishna with love. Krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttama. This is the real bhakti. Okay? So, here, almost always, when one approaches with no motive but love, they're worshiping the Vishnu, Krishna, or you could say the Vishnu avatars. Okay? That's a particular category of being. And the different schools, different texts glorify some texts, if you read them, it seems to be saying Vishnu is the supreme. And others seem to be saying Krishna is supreme. Some seem to be saying Krishna comes through Vishnu. And others seem to be saying Vishnu comes from Krishna. But when you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the ultimate text shared by Vyasadeva, he says that Vishnu comes from Krishna. And let me explain this a little bit. I'll try to share an analogy. Have any of you wondered about this before? Okay. Imagine that you were the ambassador to America from India. And imagine that I was the ambassador of America to India. Okay? So you and I are having a lot of conversations all the time. Back and forth, sharing documents, information, data, sharing ideas, building a friendship, creating trade agreements, and all this kind of stuff. And let's say you say, I've heard that in America that your Department of Agriculture has some really advanced technologies and so on. I would love if we could bring your Secretary of Agriculture to India and they could sit down with our agricultural department and we could share ideas and learn. And I say to you, I can make that happen. I have the power to make this Secretary of Agriculture appear in your world. Okay? And then later on you say, okay, that was great. And then you say, also, your Secretary of Defense, I would also love if we could bring him here. He comes through me, right? I make him appear. And like this, you ask for me for different secretaries, and I'm able to bring them all. Okay. So it could seem that I am the person that has the power to make this happen. Now, what if you said to me, I want to see the President of the United States, right? And I said, hold on, right? And I go talk to the President of the United States, and I say, I think it would be a good time for you to visit India. They would like to see with you and meet with you, and I think this can be an important meeting that we have. Would you come? And he says, yes, I'll come. And then now, not only have I delivered all these different secretaries, I've delivered the President. And it could seem to you, from your perspective in India, that the President comes from me. You asked me and I made him appear, right? But really, it was the President's decision to come. And only from your perspective, if you were outside and in America, you'd have a different perspective. Okay, he chose to come through the Secretary of State. And so that's like Krishna and Vishnu. The different avatars of Krishna manifest through Vishnu. So whether it's Narasimhadev or Rama or Hayagriva or Varaha, or they're all coming through Vishnu. Krishna also comes, but Krishna is the original. Krishna is the one that chooses to come. And from within this, if we're sitting in the bubble of this universe, it seems like Vishnu made him come. If you're sitting in the bubble of this universe, and that's the limit of your perspective, and I'll say this is important too. Most of the Vedic texts that we read, the perspective is within the universe. It's coming from that angle. There's not too much talk about what's going on outside of this one bubble of this universe, right? You have to search for that kind of information. So mostly it's coming from within this universe. Now, if we're talking about what's going on in this universe, who's the first being in this universe? Brahma is first? Isn't there someone before Brahma? There's Vishnu. Brahma comes from the lotus flower that's coming out of the navel of Lord Vishnu. So Vishnu's first, right? First there's Vishnu. Then comes Brahma. From Brahma comes the four Kumars, comes Shiva, come the great sages, the progenitors. Then from them come more. But it all originates in Vishnu. So if that's the case, then from our perspective, it seems like Vishnu's first. Krishna doesn't come along until millennia later, Krishna appears. So from that perspective, it can appear that Vishnu is the source of Krishna. But if we were to step out of this universe and look at it all from the perspective of Goloka Vrindavan, we see there's Krishna. And Krishna, amongst the unlimited beings that Krishna, that are Krishna's energy, some of them choose the illusion, and to create the illusion that they choose, the material realm is created, and to maintain the material realm, Krishna expands as Vishnu, because he doesn't want to do that work. He's not interested in the material realm. His interest lies in the spiritual realm. So just like if you were all powerful, and there's some people that wanted to have some kind of playground to play in, and that you wouldn't have to go there and do it yourself. You could delegate. Your delegated powers could create that playground and maintain that playground. And in Krishna's case, he can empower people to do it like the Devas, and he can also expand himself into another form of Vishnu and go in there as well. And so if you see it from that perspective, you see that Vishnu is an emanation of Krishna rather than the other way around. Does that make sense? Now, there's certain beautiful lineages of bhakti that see Vishnu as being the origin. In our lineage and in other lineages, they've analyzed this text, Srimad Bhagavatam, as the key to understanding it all. And there it said, Ete Changsa Kala Pungsa, Krishnas tu Bhagavan Svayam. There's a list of all the avatars. There's Vishnu in all the avatars, and then it says, but Krishna's tu Bhagavan Svayam. Krishna is the original from which they all emanate. You'll find that in Srimad Bhagavatam. And arguments will be made that how one can see that text as the culmination, the full picture is given in that text. Does that help? Okay. So these lineages are the both are Vaishnava lineages. Both have a mark something like this on the forehead with the vertical lines. They're Vaishnavas. They may be worshiping Vishnu. They may be worshiping Krishna. There's an analogy to help understand this too. You ready for that one? Say there's a judge, high court judge, super respected judge, right? When they're in the courtroom, listen, Raghunath, he's got it going in there. He's doing his thing. So what was I saying? Oh, judge. So when the judge is in the courtroom, how do people address the judge? What do they call him? Your Honor. There's respect, awe, like that, right? Your Honor this, Your Honor that. Everybody knows he's got the power, full power. Everybody knows if we don't respect him, he can say, you out of the courtroom, right? If you're on trial, he can say, I extend your sentence, right? If a juror speaks up in the wrong way, he can say, you're off the jury, right? If a lawyer doesn't behave right, I hold you in contempt of the court. He's got all the power. And everybody knows he's got the power. And everybody shows him respect. And he appreciates the respect. He appreciates when people treat him that way. When he goes home, what do they call him? Do they call him Your Honor? He walks in the front door and his wife greets him. What does she say? Honey, right? No one will call him honey in the courtroom. Even if she went in the courtroom, she wouldn't call him honey. But at home, that's a different place and it's a different mood. And when he's home, if you know him in the courtroom, you know him. I've worked with him in the courtroom for the past 40 years. I know him. But you don't know all of him, right? You don't know. The wife knows that courtroom judge, but the wife knows more about him. The wife knows aspects of his character that the other people in the courtroom will never know. He doesn't open himself up in the courtroom fully. It's him, but it's not all of him. But when he goes home, where he's not treated with the super respect, he's treated with a more intimate kind of love. Then he reveals everything. And you can see the complete judge, right? So when he's in the courtroom, you're seeing part of him. When you see him at home, you're seeing all of him. And here, he's not called Your Honor. He's called honey. He's called daddy. Which does he prefer? Which touches his heart? when he's called honey, when he's called daddy. That's, if he could have one or the other, which one's he going to take? Right? He's going to take the love. That's Krishna. Krishna in the spiritual realm in Goloka Vrindavan is the judge at home, where you see the whole thing. Vishnu in the material world is when he's taking care of business, and he's related to with respect. When you worship Vishnu, it's always with awe. And Vishnu, his body is so big that unlimited universes are emanating out of it. Okay? And then he becomes so small that he enters into every atom within the universe. What is it? Ekopya Sorachaitam Jagananda Kotam Yachakti Yastar Jagananda Chaya Jaranta Antantarastam Paramanu Charantarastam Govindam Aripurusham Tamaham Bhajami. You know, I adore that primeval Lord, said that all the universes are within him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. That's Krishna expanding as Vishnu and entering into everything. How can one not have awe and reverence for Vishnu? His body is unlimitedly big. It becomes unlimitedly small. There's no, Vishnu means the pervader. There's no place where he's not, right? So that's the God that you worship with reverence. You're very big, I'm very small. You're very powerful, I'm very dependent. Krishna is that same person, not the judge in the courtroom when he's home. And in there he's approached with love. Vishnu, he's called Ishvara, right? The pervader Vishnu means the all pervader. Ishvara means the controller, right? That cosmic intelligence that's pervading and controlling everything in the universe, right? That's like your honor. But what do we call Krishna? Govinda, right? Radhakanta, the lover of Radha. Govinda, the one that loves and cares for the cows. Damodar, the one that his mother binds him with her love, right? So many names. Giridhari, out of love, he lifted the mountain, and all of his fellow loving villagers came under the hill. It'll talk about his dancing. Murlidhara, he's the holder of the flute. He plays the flute so beautifully. These are intimate names. He can be loved in this intimate way. That's the whole. That form of Krishna is called Akila Rasamrita Murti. Murti means form. Akila means that it can accommodate all. Akila Ras Amrita. Rasa Amrita, the nectar of the different varieties of flavors of love. So this is the form that can accommodate all different varieties of love. Vishnu's form doesn't accommodate all. It accommodates love with reverence. Krishna, his form can accommodate any way that you want to love him, he'll love you back. You can love him like a friend. And when you love him like a friend, you don't see him as being the great one, and you see him as, that's my equal, that's my buddy, I got my arm around him. Right? We're friends. Because only if you forget that he's God can you love him in that way. You can love a parent. You can have parental love for Krishna and feel he needs me. Right? Or you can love him like a lover, like that. The deepest, most intimate, most intense, most personal love. You can love Krishna like that, completely forgetting that he's God. It's said there's one Leela where the gopis are searching for Krishna. They're running through the forest searching for Krishna, and Krishna appears in front of them as Vishnu. 4 arms. Now, when you see Vishnu, that's like if you saw that beautiful 4-armed glowing transcendental form just floating in front of you, anyone would be like, "Oh, I bow down to you. This is God." When the gopis saw that form, they're like, "Dear Lord Vishnu, it's so good to see you. Can you tell us where Krishna is?" Right? And it said that their love for him was so intimate and so sweet and so strong that he couldn't maintain that 4-armed form, and he became Krishna again in front of them. This is the power of that intimate love. Krishna will say that the love that's shown for me with awe and reverence is appreciated and reciprocated with. But the love that's intimate, it controls him. It drives him wild. It moves him in unbelievable ways. It's more powerful than God himself. Thank you very much. Good questions. Good question. But we're going to need another one. Anyone else have a question? You have questions. Tell us first. Yes? But you told me you did.
Now I have to come up with a question. No, I always wanted to ask you. Thank you. How do we transform the desire into devotion?
This is this is Bhakti Vedanta. In Bhakti Vedanta, the idea is that this world is like a reflection of the spiritual realm. Whatever we see here exists in its perfection in the spiritual realm. So some schools of Vedanta say desire is a problem. Desire has to be eliminated ultimately. When you're free of desire, then you're free. What the Bhakti Yoga is saying is we need to be free of material desire, but we can do that by transforming that desire into love, which is spiritual desire, right? Love is full of desire. Desire to be with one, desire to give one, desire to please one, right? To serve one. Love is full of desire. Sometimes we say, you are my one desire, like that. But the idea is there's this love in its pure form. When it passes through the material energy, then in a sense it becomes warped. And so what is love becomes lust. It manifests in a different way, right? By the touch of the material energy, that pure desire becomes warped into something that's, in one sense, almost the opposite of it. And so we could say that the whole goal of our life is to transform the material desire into the spiritual desire, to transform selfishness into selflessness, to transform lust into love, right? And so it's, in one sense, it's a question of where are we directing it. There's three stages in the practice of bhakti. One is called sambandha, one is called abhideya, and one is called prayojana. Sambandha literally means like relationship or the connection, the nature of the connection. If you take two objects, what's the nature of their relationship or the nature of their connection? We can call that sambandha. And so when we talk about sambandha, they say connect. Once heard it said that to get things done in India, it's very helpful to have two things. You're from India, you can let me know if there's any truth in this. They say one is sambandha, connections, if you know the right people, and the other is bakshish, if you can give a little something under the table, right? Sambandha and bakshish. But sambandha means what's the nature of the connection? What's the nature of the relationship? Abhideya means once you understand who I am in relation to God, then you can begin to practice according to that understanding. And then sambandha is the fulfillment of that practice, the perfection of that practice manifesting and fully blossoms. So it begins with the right conceptions. Who am I? What is this world? And who is God? And what is the relationship between the three? And when we study that in the Vedic text, we see that God is the supreme origin of everything. Janmadyasya taha. That absolute truth is that from which everything comes. What comes? Two varieties of energy. Material energy, spiritual energy. You could say the internal energy and the external energy. And this world, including our bodies and even our subtle minds, are composed of the material energy. We are composed of the spiritual energy. Therefore, that's called the pada prakriti, the higher energy, because it's conscious, because we are conscious. We are of the nature of God, eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. Both energies are the energies of God. Both are dependent on God. We have the potential to be covered by the material energy, confused by it, bewildered by it, entangled in it. God is never entangled in his own energy. So you put all these things together, you begin to get a picture of the sambandha, of our relationship with God. I'm God's energy. I have the same qualities of God. He's got them in unlimited amount. I have them in a minuscule amount. It's kind of like the relationship between the sun and the sunshine. The sun, what's the qualities of the sun? Heat and light, right? Heat and light. And so the rays of the sun also have heat and light, but one is the source and the other comes from the source. And similarly, what is the nature of the Supreme? Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. We're made of the same energy, therefore we're eternal, we're full of knowledge and we're full of bliss, but we're emanating from God, we're dependent on God. Right? That's Sambandha. Now that we know the nature of the relationship, now we can begin the practice. So now we can begin the work of transforming the desire into love. But if we don't have all of that sambandha jnana, that knowledge of the relationship, then we'll approach it with misconceptions, and all of the sadhana and all the work won't deliver the love. It won't awaken the love. So now, everything that one is doing in bhakti is working to purify that desire. For instance, we all desire some sort of beauty in life. We want to see beautiful things. We want to smell beautiful aromas. We want to taste delicious. There's this desire for some pleasing aesthetic beauty in life, right? So commonly we seek that beauty in external objects. But what if our search for beauty became contained within direct approach to God? So for instance, someone might do a daily ritual to approach that. Let's say they say there's a beautiful little form, let's say even a painting of Radha and Krishna. I see Krishna as the origin of everything, as my God, who's supporting everything, who's in my own heart. And there he is with Radha, the embodiment of divine love. That goddess, that empowered being that can deliver love of God. They're both my worshipable objects. And what I want to do is do a daily ritual where my mind becomes deeply focused on the two of them, enhanced with special feelings of affection or love. So that means that I'm going to, the ritual plays out as this: I'm inviting them into my home, onto my altar, ultimately in a deeper sense, into my heart. So there's 16 things that are offered. Are you familiar with this? 16 upachars. Yeah, it's kind of like, what is it? Idam svagatam, welcome. Clean Krishnaya namaha. Etat padyam, let me bathe your feet. And like this, it goes right through all the different offerings that are made. Let me offer you a bath. Let me offer you fragrant oils. Let me offer you a flower garland. Let me offer you delicious foods. It's almost like hospitality. Please come here and stay, right? And again, it's like saying, please come into my heart and stay in my heart. I love you. I want to offer you. I want to make offerings unto you with love. And as you're doing this, you're offering these things, and you're offering it with beautiful prayers, right? Beautiful verses. Some of the verses are saying, what is it? Oh, it's slipping my mind right now. That's slipping my mind. But I picture Sri Radha and Krishna on a golden throne beneath a desire tree in Goloka Vrindavan, surrounded by They're loving servants. That becomes my, that's my, that's my meditation. That's my mental focus. And then I'm offering them flowers. I'm offering them fragrant oils. I'm grinding some sandalwood. Yeah, who's here has ever ground real sandalwood before? Raise your hand. Oh, the aroma, so lovely, right? Like this, I'm making beautiful offerings, fragrant offerings. I'm seeing a beautiful form. My hands are covered in sandalwood and fragrant oils. What's your favorite oil, Raghunath? What's your favorite fragrant oil? Yes. A guru? A guru, yes. Very, very, he's a very refined gentleman. Only the finest things. And so by offering the finest things to Radha and Krishna, we're smelling this fragrant oil. We're seeing this beautiful form. Our desire to experience beauty is being fulfilled not separately from God, but connected to God. And what's happening through making the offering and chanting these beautiful prayers, maybe singing them in a beautiful melody, is that we're beginning to identify our own happiness in service. I'm happy doing this. It's beautiful doing this. If anyone ever has the special blessing to ever see Srila Indradyumna Swami do his puja, it's like you can see some photographs of it on the internet. I've seen. It's the most beautiful aesthetic experience you can imagine, right? The purity of the heart is there. You can see it and feel it and smell it in the worship. And in this way, our desire, which has a tendency to go away from God, I'm searching for beauty outside of the realm of God. Now that same feeling is being directed toward God, right? So it's going back, right? And now it's waking up and it's being reciprocated with. So my mind is being reprogrammed through this daily ritual. I do it every day. And so my lust getting transformed into love, right? I feel no need to search something separately from God because I'm finding everything right here. And so whatever practice it is, whether it's, we have a tendency to want to hear stories. But what if we hear the stories about Krishna? Then the desire is becoming transformed into love, right? We have a desire for drama. What if I see dramas about Krishna, right? What we have a desire for art. What about art? Architecture. The entire Indian culture all grows out of the Bhakti Shastras. It doesn't grow out of the Jnana Shastras. It doesn't grow out of the Karmics. It's all growing out of the Bhakti Shastras because beauty is something so central to it. The music, the dance, the architecture, the all the different forms of the arts. As you practiced when you were a girl, you're doing the Rasa Leela dances in the Manipuri style. It's all growing out of the Bhakti Shastras. That grew right out of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So like this, first we get the Sambandha down. We understand who we are in relation to God. Then we begin to do these beautiful rituals in that context. And in this way, desire or selfishness can be transformed into love or selflessness. Is that all right? It's a science. It's for real. All of this has been conceived. A ritual like that is conceived by a realized yogi who's designed it specifically for its transformative purpose. And if we know the purpose and we follow it as directed, we can transform. Just like a doctor knows how to prescribe a particular medicine. Sometimes they even just create the medicines, right? Knowing the ingredients and knowing the nature of the malady, they can create a medicine. Can be done in the Ayurvedic realm. Certain herbs, 54 herbs. Mix them in ghee, grind them up. You get this chawan prash, right? Ashwagandha goes in there, blended in, right? All these different powerful herbs. Then you take it and it has a particular transformative effect. So like that, all of the bhakti rituals, they're all designed carefully by sages who've realized exactly how they work, exactly how they affect the consciousness. And if one follows them with the right understanding, with the right mood, steadily, with some enthusiasm, with some patience, the transformation will take place. It's powerful stuff. Thank you for that good question. You got another one? Follow up.
That you have mentioned about the Saguna meditation. That one, I want you to repeat. Another one is sometimes I feel like a deep peace and devotion, but it fades. It goes and comes. It doesn't stay. So how do or we stabilize this practice, or like with becoming without attachment to this experience, like
How to keep it going.
keep going. Yeah, like I just want to stabilize this practice without fading, because it is very nice to kirtans and all of these things. I think it's coming from the community. It is important, the community and keeping in a group, but it is difficult, like especially me living away from all of this community. It's not accessible all the time. So how do we maintain this with the chanting? Yeah, another one is, does the Krishna Chalisa works when we do the prayers? Krishna Chalisa, yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes you feel a sense of spiritual peace, and it's very nice, but then it fades away. So that's to be expected in the beginning. When this spiritual path, one really has to begin to see it in perspective. And seeing in perspective means zooming out. So it would be safe for us, according to great sages, it would be safe for us to assume that we have gone through many, 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 many lives before this particular form that we're in now. And that means that was many, 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 we can't count the number of experiences that we had. We can't count the number of impressions that have been left within the mind. There's deep, deep, deep conditioning going on here. Okay? Now, in one sense, each one of those lifetimes is just a blip if you're really zoomed out, because they're just a dot on a line that goes forever into the past and forever into the future. But we think of this lifetime as like really long and significant. From the zoomed out perspective, it's just a moment. And from the zoomed out perspective, there's a whole lot building up the conditioning and the trap that we're in right now, this mental conditioning that we're in. We shouldn't expect that very quickly it's going to change. Or let me put it this way. If it changes in the course of one lifetime, it did happen very quickly. But the power of bhakti is very effective. So a wise person will say, let me take this lifetime and let me make it my mission to fully give my life to God, to fully transcend, to let go of all of my material attachments, purify my body, my words, my mind, and become make all of me a worthy offering to the Supreme. That's if I can do that in this life, that's a perfect success, right? What I'm saying is there has to be patience. Now, one may say, well, okay, but I've been doing this for some years now, and I'm not seeing as much growth as I would hope to see. Patience again. We need to understand that things grow differently. Everybody's spiritual path is a little different. Sometimes someone has a whole bunch of spirituality from their previous life, and it's almost just like you just need a little spark and it's lighting up again. And some people, it's taking longer. That's okay. Sometimes there's some seeds, you plant them in the ground and in no time they're growing straight up. And other seeds are underneath the ground and they're spreading roots before you even see anything come out. And there's a lot going on underground and you're not seeing it come up. So our business isn't to kind of demand quick change, but our business is to say, this is coming from a place of the heart. I've turned away from that source of love that was always there for me. I even allowed some animosity to that source of love to exist within me. I'm not going to live that life anymore. I'm going to turn it around right now. And in fact, once I've said that, there's a peace. There's a sense of peace that comes with that. Some things may come and rock that, but I'm on the boat of peace, even if it's a little rocky, you know? And then, as you're saying, there are different practices one can do. You have a job where you're traveling a lot, and stability is commonly helpful for spiritual practice. So that's going to be a challenge. You're going to need your movements are in a sense unstable. You're going to need something stable in your life that kind of grounds it, right? Now that may be a particular spiritual practice that becomes very dear to you. You mentioned something called Krishna Chalisa. I know Hanuman Chalisa. I don't know Krishna Chalisa. Is it a prayer from a particular saint maybe, or a particular text? But you may, we were talking about this also last night, you may find something that you do, some ritual that you do, some mantra that you chant, some book that you read, some prayer that you recite, or maybe a little bit of each of them that you build into your day. And there has to be some part of your day, at least some part, that's exclusively devoted to this. And you have to hang on to it and not let it go. If you let it go, then you have to start working again just to get back to where you were. But if you hang on to it very steady, you're going to feel the growth. You're going to feel the growth. And so I'd recommend the chanting of the Maha Mantra. Even if you just do it one round a day, this is very good. I'd recommend Bhagavad Gita. Even if you read one chapter a day, it could be very quick. I'd recommend maybe reading a little Srimad Bhakti, or if there's some special prayer, some special shlokas that you like to chant, then you make yourself a good half hour. Sometimes maybe you have to do it a little quicker if time demands, but you still do it. And set that side. And if you can, because you're traveling and all this, it's hard. But if you can do it early in the morning, then this is still more effective like that. And then you'll see. Pray. Talk to God in your heart every day, you know?
So I would like to share this experience. I live in Middle East, Qatar. So they dropped the missile yesterday and today where I live. And I came here for the Kirtan festival only for 1 week. And the last time when I came here and I attended his seminar, and I was experiencing the Kirtan for the first time. And that time again there was a missile attack. This is the second time I get the missile attack. So I went for today one of the seminar. I had to really ask, like, am I really living the truth or just experiencing? How can it be possible that I'm always away from such a misery experience like everybody? I pray everybody, for everyone, all my colleagues, whoever is staying there. But I feel like this is like a dream. So I just want to share this, what I'm experiencing now. Like, I'm not saying that I am only safe. I am worried for my friends and everybody there. But this is happening not only first time. Like, again, it's happening. And literally for these festivals, I came here for 1 week. And thank you so much for connecting all of these things. I'm always a loner. But today I get to meet and connect everybody. Thank you.
Give me that prayer that you chanted at the end last year. So, first of all, let me express my concern for you, for your people in Qatar, and for people all over the world right now. You know, it's a dangerous time that we're living in. In fact, it's always a dangerous time. But let's hope that we can grow out of this, and as a global community can actually learn what's more important in life. That really all the resources that we need, they're provided for us if we just actually cared for one another. And this practice of bhakti yoga and the wisdom of the tradition, it has the ability to let us understand who we really are, see who everyone else really is. That the things that divide us, our bodies, our nations, our communities, that these are all temporary and superficial things that are not who we truly are. And that underneath those differences, we all exist on the same spiritual vibration. If we can all imbibe this ourselves, then we can become an instrument of peace. And it can radiate from us to others. And believe it, we can change the world. Okay? And why don't we end tonight with a prayer? We began with Prahlad. We're ending with Prahlad. This is a prayer from that boy that we spoke about at the beginning of today's class. And I mentioned Vandanam. Prayers is what he's seen as the exemplar of. This is one beautiful prayer that he shared. Would you like to hear this prayer? Yes? I need enthusiasm for this one. Thank you. People in line, this is worth hearing. Everybody over there too. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. Thank you all so very much. It's been wonderful spending this time with you. If you would like to hear previous Q&As or future ones or classes that are going on in the morning, please speak to Gabriella here and she'll hook you up. Otherwise, I'm giving class not tomorrow because it's Monday, but otherwise pretty much every day at 9 a.m., Yogi Charu, Yoga, Asana, and meditation at 8 a.m. Wonderful prasad and incredible Kirtan. Please take advantage of it all. Thank you all so very much. Hari Om Tat Sat.